My name is Rashana Williams. I am a supervising convention consultant here at NJ4S Union Hub. Today we will be having our event today for our webinar which is entitled Healing Through Pride, Self-Care, Joy, and Resilience in Queer Communities. It will be presented today by our very own Josetta Bentley. Josie is a first-generation graduate student who previously graduated from Rutgers, Newark, with a master's in history while pursuing a minor in psychology and teaching, with a second concentration in urban education. She taught STEAM and Afrofuturism for a year while she was within the Hillside School District. She's been teaching and helping shape the minds of scholars for over 4 years through curriculum-based learning, poetry, and just being herself. She's also a coach of 2.5 years for middle school girls basketball and middle school football. She's decided to put a pause on being a classroom educator and work with us here at NJ4S Union because she is passionate about protecting one's peace and mental health. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this webinar over to Josie and we'll get started.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I'm extra excited today because my birthday was yesterday, but today's webinar, as you can see, is on healing through pride, which I believe is a very important topic. So let's get started. The term did not become a term in the pride community up until the year of 1969. 1969 is significant because it was the start of a new era for the LGBTQ plus community. This next slide is going to represent my foundation, the beginning, middle, and now. So I don't know if anybody ever heard of the Stonewall riots, which a lot of others consider it to be an uprising for the LGBTQ plus community. So in 1969, the word pride became a part of the queer community due to the Stonewall uprising. On June 28, 1969, the Stonewall riots took place due to homosexuality being illegal during the 60s. Officers used an alcohol warrant to gain access to the Stonewall bar and began causing ruckus and harassing those they deemed as violating the gender-appropriate clothing law, because this was a thing. Even though their warrant wasn't issued to seize people, it was issued to seize the bootleg of alcohol, they decided to take innocent people instead. They considered them to be violating this law, and it wasn't until the police officer put a lesbian into the back of a vehicle after hitting her over the head with a glass bottle. This is the moment that my mouse isn't working. Okay, there we go. This is the moment that everyone got fed up with it and decided to retaliate and started throwing stuff such as pennies, bottles, just trash they seen on the street. They started fighting back against the police. This sparked a new era and a movement for the queer community, which leads us to the year of 1970. A year later, on June 28th, 1970, it was the first Gay Liberation Day, which we now consider to be the Pride Parade. Because of the Stonewall uprising, socialists and civil rights activists got involved within getting justice for the people who were being constantly harassed by the police within their community. So within that year, gay people got rights, and they also got more inclusion, and the law uplifted from clothing, gender appreciation clothing. Now to present day, we celebrate Pride every year from New York to Los Angeles to Chicago, and it is shown in many other ways by a lot more spaces being more inclusive compared to when liberation first started. For some, the joy of being able to be their authentic self is a resilience enough. For others, fighting for more inclusion, acceptance, and recognition can be seen as their joy and resilience. given the perspective of I am happy with who I am, I won't be cast out. Self-care as a protective factor within the queer community looks like them practicing setting boundaries, accessing affirming therapy, and engaging in creative expressions such as poetry, art, community outreach events. And the queer community suffer a lot more anxiety and stress and depression because of the systemic discrimination, marginalization, and internalization stigmas that they go through. So it is important for people to always reach out through these factors of social and emotional abilities, having stable conditions or a foundation or just a place where they can go and be themselves, having more social connections, working on their mindset through therapy and just socializing, basically putting yourself in a safe space. Joy as a resistance helps defy the narrative that their worth isn't tied to suffering. And it helps them challenge the dynamic that oppression seeks to establish. This is seen as a radical act of resistance. The act of pride is considered a joyful protest through the act of celebration. Since the beginning, it has been a way for the LGBTQ plus community to challenge the harmful narratives and power structures. For instance, the use of music and dance have been front and center in resistant movements within all communities. They serve to disrupt the rigidity and control of oppression, fostering hope, connection, and a sense of agency. It also counters trauma and provides psychological relief, which are all crucial for positive mental health. This will bring us into the joy as a healing. Joy as a healing can help the body and mind relax and recover from chronic stress and the impacts of trauma. By experiencing positive emotions such as joy, gratitude, and love after crisis, it can help buffer against depression and even lead to mental growth. Overall, joy as a healing helps for one to reclaim their safety, trust, and cultivate a resilience geared towards their own aspirations. Resilience through community looks like so many different ways, so many different things. And last week, Brian brought up a very important term called surrogate kinship. Resilience through a community is just that. However, it looks different depending on where you are, who you are, and because of safety is not always found in stereotypical households. For instance, Hector Extravaganza, I don't know if anybody ever heard of him, who became later a her. He was born as Hector Crespo and was born and raised in Jersey City during the late 60s and 70s. He was born to a Puerto Rican mother and a Black father. And when he came out to his Puerto Rican mother, she kicked him out of the house and he was between the ages of 14 and 16. He eventually found refuge in an old warehouse and turned it into a ballroom for queers and drags to come and be themselves. For those of you who don't know what a ballroom is, back then and still now, they're just not as prevalent as it was back then. But a ballroom was a place where either it was a warehouse or old factory, and people of the queer community, they would go and dance and just have a good time, vibe out. Some people lived there because they had nowhere else to go. And this is where actually the dance voguing came from. So after developing the ballroom, Hector later changed his name from Hector Crespo to Hector Extravaganza. He founded this house with someone by the name of Angie Extravaganza, and they took in so many different people, and offered a safe space for them. And this was their resilience through community, tying it into their family roots. Hector's story and how resilience through community can look brings us to our next topic, which is intersection with minority stress theory. Has anybody ever heard of this theory? And you could drop it in the chat. And while you do that, I'm gonna highlight this right here, critique MSS. Just in case nobody ever heard of it or doesn't know what it is, this bubble is just simply a representation of how one evaluates themselves based off of the scripted society hands us. So, for example, oh, only girls could do this, or girls supposed to wear dresses and cook and clean, and only men supposed to work. And this is that bubble. I'm gonna go back to the critique MSS bubble. This bubble is particularly important because when thinking about and talking about intersection with minority stress theory, it focuses on the impact of societal attitudes and prejudices on the well-being of minority groups. For instance, a Black bisexual woman may experience minority stress related to her sexual orientation, her race, and her intersection of these two identities. She may face racism within the LGBTQIA plus community and homophobia within her racial community, leading to increased stress and potential mental health challenges. Or how about a transgender man who is also from a low income background? He may face, or she may face, challenges related to accessing healthcare, finding safe housing, and navigating social institutions, all of which can contribute to minority stress. The psychological framework of this theory explains how marginalized groups experience chronic stress due to discrimination and stigma. However, despite the challenges that they face, they always maintain a level of demonstration when it comes to resilience and develop coping mechanisms to navigate their stresses. Understanding these mechanisms is crucial for promoting well-being. Reclaiming rest, pleasure, and authenticity looks like healing from trauma, prioritizing self-care, building a resilience, promoting self-love, creating safe spaces, challenging societal norms, empowering voices, building stronger communities, promoting inclusivity. In essence, reclaiming rest, pleasure, authenticity is not just about individuals' well-being, it's about creating a more just and equitable society where everyone can thrive and be accepted. Things such as queer affirming mental health care should always be recognized and incorporated into any concepts to help strengthen essential components of healing, not just as an add-on. For example, if there's a program, let's say that just focuses on single mothers, don't just single it out to women born as a woman and as a mother. Make it suitable for those who are transgender or who are lesbians or just fit anywhere in the queer community. Also emphasizing joy and community-based resilience rather than only focusing on pathological or trauma supports holistic well-being also. So just having more inclusion when it comes to festivals, fairs, community events or spaces. This is all important when it comes to implicating services for mental health. Because mental health services aren't always physical, they are literally mental. That will be all for today. On the screen is 3 really big groups that I found that do a lot of work within the queer community. They also host a lot of events. They have support groups. They have some of these places help find housing for kids who get, I don't like to use the term thrown away, but who get kicked out, who aren't accepted. They could be of the LGBTQ community. They could be just someone who is going against their parents' religious, like their religious views. So yeah, so you like to write it down, take notes. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And that is all.
We want to thank Josetta so much for that presentation. Very important information, very important topic, um, especially during the month of Pride. And I don't know about you, but for me, the idea of joy does include like reclaiming your humanity, disrupting negative narratives, building resilience, creating community. Being joyous challenges the narrative. that we have to be defined by our struggles and by suffering. So by consciously making the decision to and the choice to have joy, especially in the face of oppression, individuals and communities can completely disrupt the negative stereotypes and expectations that are thrust upon them. So I do thank you for that wonderful, wonderful presentation. We greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed the presentation and want to keep up with NJ4S Union Hub and what we're doing in the community, you can follow us on social media at NJ4S Union. Or if you have any questions about our programming, you can email us at nj4sunion@preventionlinks.org. We do thank you again. We thank everybody for joining us, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.